I told you. I said it on this podcast last week. I said Jey Uso was going to win the Royal Rumble. And I was right. Thank
That
you.
was the greatest call in the history that I've known you. I'm not even counting this show. I did not think there was a living chance in hell YEET would win the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble match. I especially did not think there was a chance in hell when he was the final three with Logan Paul and John Cena. I especially did not think there was a chance when it was him and John Cena as the final two. And long and behold, the YEET man won. And before I let you go, I'm going to say something. So, Monday Night Raw was in Cleveland this past Monday at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I was there. Friend of the show, Jalen Sandvik, was also there. We met up before the show. Listen.
C-Boss was also there with a friend of ours, Brian.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this. I was in the crowd the night after the 2014 Royal Rumble when it was Daniel Bryan was not in it. Batista wanted the Yes Movement. Josh, I have not seen a crowd that hyped for one wrestler since the Yes Movement. This is the Yes Movement. This is We Want Cody. This is Kofi Mania. This is all that all over again. This is Yeet Omania. And Jey Uso is now over as a WWE superstar that I've ever seen.
So, the big knock on Jey Uso, and to the same degree, I would say Jimmy was they're not singles wrestlers. They're tag team wrestlers, both of them, because they've been a tag team together for so long. So it's understandable. But you look at somebody like a Kofi Kingston, for example, when he was the WWE champion and he was going on his singles run, he showed, oh yeah, I can be a good singles wrestler. Jey Uso and Jimmy have both shown the same thing.
I don't know as much about Jimmy, but Jey for sure.
From what I've seen on SmackDown, Jimmy has shown that he is a very capable singles wrestler. I think it's going to be him going against Shinsuke for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. That's my prediction right now, which I would love to see Jimmy Uso win that title. It would be amazing. But in terms of the actual Royal Rumble, I thought it was awesome.
Okay, good. Me and you both agree. I'm on record. I know, obviously, a lot of people didn't like Jey winning, so a lot of people thought this was the worst Royal Rumble match in history. Josh, I thought, from what I've watched, so I'm counting the WWE Network days from 2015 to 2025, I thought that was the best Royal Rumble I ever watched, and I think it might be seriously the best Royal Rumble ever. Like, I don't think there was one bad moment in that match. I thought that was a special match that I talk about all the time. Usually matches that we are hyped for under deliver. This over freaking delivered.
I only have like 2 knocks against it, and this is just my personal taste. I really enjoyed the little feud between Carmelo Hayes and Jimmy Uso that's been going on SmackDown. So I would have liked it if Carmelo had been in the ring still when Jimmy came out. And the other thing, tying back into Carmelo, is I wanted Trick Williams in the Rumble, because I think that match on the main roster would be amazing. I was surprised at the lack of NXT people in both Rumbles.
That's one of the things, because you called me psyched out after Jey won on Saturday night, and we both talked about it. Technically, in the men's Royal Rumble match, there was only one return, and it was AJ Styles. And to me, it shows you the depth of the men's roster right now.
Right. Like I said, the 2 knocks that I had about Jimmy Uso and Trick Williams. That's just my personal taste. But I almost got Roxy right too, because she was in the final too.
By the way, I said this on Tuesdays for In the World. If you look at Triple H's booking historically, the last few superstars in the Rumble, even if they don't win it, go on to have a huge year. I think Roxanne Perez is going to be pushed hard. It may not be till after WrestleMania, but I think she's going to be a champion by 2026.
I would, like I said to you and C-Boss last week, a feud between her and Rhea Ripley. Oh, that would just be the.
I think it's going to happen sometime down the pipeline.
And as much as I love non-title feuds, I personally like non-title feuds more. If you made Roxy versus Rhea Ripley before the championship, oh yes, please hook that to my veins. But that, like I said, or I want to get to this part now, because it sounds like the plan for WrestleMania is a triple threat match: Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins.
I want them to add Drew in it and make it a fatal four-way. It sounds like it's not going to happen, but that would be the direction I would go.
Yeah. Okay, since you brought Drew up, what do you think of all this chatter that we're hearing about him being genuinely upset about how he got eliminated and the fact that it sounds like it's going to be him against Priest for Mania?
It looks like it's going to be him against Priest, though I think the chatter about him being upset about him being eliminated is all troll. Because that's what Drew does. Remember that they reported that the night CM Punk returned, he stormed out and was pissed off and was going to leave the company.
Yes, I do. But it sounded like, from what I've heard, like there were a few more spots that needed to happen.
It looked like Drew's elimination was not supposed to happen. It looked like it was supposed to happen earlier, and it just didn't happen. But so he could have been upset. But I think that it's overdrone of how much.
Yeah. Priest versus Drew, I think that's a good WrestleMania feud. But given how good of a 2024 Drew had, I don't want to say that feels
and
like.
And the fact he just did it at Clash of the Castle in June. Like, it's also like Jey versus Gunther for me. I'm like, I kind of did just watch this like last week at Saturday Night's main event. And now all of a sudden it's going to be a WrestleMania main event. Like, I like, to me, and I understand if you don't feel the way I feel. When this is kind of the way I'm feeling, I think Jey and Gunther should open night one of WrestleMania.
I could see that.
And I think Roman, Punk, and Seth should close. I don't think that match can go on in the middle of the show or the start. Like, I think that's going to be such a crazy match. Whoever follows that match, I would feel awful for.
I agree with you. I do think they're going in the direction of Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, which that's going to be a great feud.
Doesn't this year at WrestleMania feel like The Rock fucked up all the plans and now they're just going back to like match that happened a couple years ago?
It does, but you know what? Like, I'm kind of all right with them doing like Priest versus Drew, because I feel like you can turn that into a WrestleMania moment because Priest cashed in on Drew to win the title at Mania last year. You can play into that.
By the way, then what are we doing with Randy? Like,
yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, does this become a triple threat with him, KO, and Sammy?
Maybe. What I was thinking. So here's the interesting thing. Charlotte Flair said she's not only going to go to on Raw, she not only said she was going to go to SmackDown to visit Tiffany Stratton, she also said she was going to go down to NXT to visit Julia.
I hope they don't do that.
Well, my point though is this. Whereas you have Charlotte Flair teasing that she could go after the NXT championship. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is going to be her against Tiffany Stratton. Although they were teasing hard that it could be her against Rhea round 3.
I would rather see that than Rio against Io or Bianca. That's my personal opinion. I'd rather see Tiffy and Nia pay off their feud with a WrestleMania match. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. But my point, though, is this. Jey Uso has only said it's either going to be Gunther or Cody. He didn't say anything about Oba Femi.
Correct.
So I just think maybe I'm reading too much into something that's not actually a storyline, but I think it's interesting that Charlotte mentioned both the champions from Raw and SmackDown as well as NXT, and Jey Uso did not include NXT. He only mentioned Raw and SmackDown.
No, I agree with you. You know what I can't wait for, though? The moment when, and if this comes true, would be interesting. Jimmy Uso wins the United States Championship. Jey Uso, YEET, wins the World Heavyweight Championship. And Roman Reigns is without a championship.
Yes. And so is Solo Sikoa.
And that's where we're going. And so here's the other thing that I thought about, and this is what somebody else brought up. How are they going to book this thing with Punk and The Favor and Paul Heyman? Like, what is this Favor going to turn into? Because now I was thinking, and I know what the rumors say, it's going to be a triple threat with Punk, Rollins, and Roman. But why don't we just do Seth and Roman and let Punk win the chamber and face Cody? I don't want to see Cody versus Cena. I know I'm in the minority. I just, for whatever reason, I don't want to see Cena versus Cody because I feel like there's no shot Cena would actually win that match.
Especially if they are pulling the trigger on a heel Cody.
Yes, which is why I think if it's not going to be Roman or Rock, I said it last week, it needs to be Punk.
As much as I don't like him, I would agree with you. I wish AEW had pulled the trigger on a heel Cody because I think he would have been great in there, but he screwed himself in AEW when he put the stipulation on that if he didn't beat Jericho, he could never challenge for the AEW World Championship again.
Speaking of which, what did you think real quick of the ladder match? Because I loved the ladder match. I thought it was very old school. This is a little thing for me. I love the fact that they did not use a chair. They did not use a kendo stick. They used ladders and step ladders. They did not turn a ladder match into TLC. It's not a TLC match. It's a ladder match. I love that.
I was very surprised that we did not get the return of Randy Orton during that match. I thought at some point both of them were going to be down, or better yet, I thought at some point both of them were going to be very wobbly, and then out of nowhere, no entrance music or anything, you just see this guy flying in, hitting RKO onto Kevin, RKO onto Cody, boom, it's Randy Orton.
Did you think for a second after Cody Rhodes hit the Alabama Slam on Kevin Owens through the wire that Sami Zayn was going to knock Cody off the wire? Because I did.
Yes. When Kevin set up for that devastating pile driver and Cody reversed it into that Alabama Slam, that was an amazing sequence. The finish was a bit anticlimactic, in my opinion.
I agree. It was weird. I kept waiting. It was like Cody was up there for so long. I kept waiting for something to happen, and nothing ever did.
Yeah, like I said, I thought if it wasn't going to be when, like what I said, I thought Randy was going to come out and push the ladder down or something, and it just kind of fell flat. But the match itself was amazing.
And quickly as well, I thought Motor City Machine Guns and DIY, I thought that was the best match they've had. I loved the way DIY wrestled that match. I thought it was classic heel tag team wrestling.
My favorite part of that match, the Street Profits.
Yes, and by the way, can we say a triple threat ladder match at WrestleMania for the titles?
I don't know about ladder match because we just did that last year.
And you gotta always have a ladder match at Mania. That's sort of my thing. I like ladder matches at Mania. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the old Money in the Bank.
Maybe.
Overall, like for 4.5 hours, that did not feel like a 4.5 hour show. Like that was a really well done for 4 matches on the show. For that card to last 4.5 hours, that was a fun ass show.
Yes. And Indianapolis was great. It sounds like Indy is the front runner to host. I almost said Super Bowl. No, WrestleMania 43. Which
I heard SummerSlam first and then Mania.
Yeah, I heard New Orleans for WrestleMania 42, and then Indianapolis for WrestleMania 43.
I don't love going back to. I mean, I know the Super Bowl's there, obviously, but doesn't it feel like every couple years they go back to New Orleans? I know they haven't been there in a while for WrestleMania.
I think the last time they were there was Super Bowl or WrestleMania 34.
It was, but like that was a weird one because they were just there 4 years earlier for WrestleMania 30. Like,
yeah, I do wonder if the Browns actually build this dome stadium in Brook Park. How often,
WrestleMania 48, baby, here we come.
do you think WrestleMania would come to Cleveland? Like,
oh, I'm not joking. WrestleMania 48
no,
or 49.
No, my question though is, would it be, like more than once, or would it just be a one-off?
That's a good question. I think maybe more than once, but I think it wouldn't be like, maybe it'd be like 48 and then 58 or 59. Like I think they'd space it out.
Yeah. So that's more my question, because like you look at, like, for example, March Madness, the men's Final Four, they seem to go to like Indianapolis and Houston and Arizona like all the time. Like they'll sprinkle in other cities, but it seems like it's those three. So so that's part of my reason for asking.